What you're about to see is the full video of me interviewing the Spotted Owl for the Cleveland Happy Hour episode 2. I say full video because this video is about 40 minutes long. But I had to do it justice and I didn't find it right to cut it too short. In addition to this longer video, you are going to see 3 topical videos coming up. One of them of Will Hollingsworth, the owner, and he's going to make a really dynamite old-fashioned for you. You also see how they see hospitality. And finally, you're going to see how their collaboration in this family-style culture built this incredible cocktail bar. I hope you enjoy all of them. If you have any questions, please let me know. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy this long-form content of my interview with the Spotted Owl.
Who is this guy?
Who is this guy? Who's this stranger?
Boom bombing us. Not literally.
On the internet, pal.
I tried to invite.
All taller.
I invited Zach and Terrell and Genevieve too, but they couldn't come.
Yeah, lame.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't want to come.
Yeah, it was gonna be a really cute surprise, but then they were assholes. So actually, Terrell just ignored me. So.
Cool.
Serge, how you doing, buddy? How you holding up? You staying safe?
Oh yeah, you know me.
I
Cautious.
do know you.
Yeah, you do.
We miss you.
What's my middle name?
Tyrone?
Close.
What is it?
Tyrese.
Tyrese.
Yeah,
Man,
you're
that
almost
guy
there.
is. Am I right?
Yeah, right.
What a piece of ass that guy is. Especially when he started like crying all the time. Man, you know.
Dude, the crying doesn't help anybody.
You and I both love a sensitive man. That's why we love each other so much.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Heidi, I don't know if can you connect the video of Tyrese crying into our Zoom call? Can that just be happening on one of these little screens at some point?
I mean, I don't ask CJ. Don't ask.
Theoretically, somebody could bring it up on their phone and hold it in front of their camera.
Or just send it to me. I'll make sure it's in the post-production. Yeah, just send it to me. I'll definitely make sure it's there.
Yeah, can we get Tyrese crying in here? That would be really great.
I can put some really great music behind it. It'll be perfect.
Awesome. I don't think you'll need it, dude. The dulcet tones of his tears are music enough.
Sorry, I thought that was her, the dog barking. I'll unmute her.
No, I got rid of the dog.
You got rid of it? Man, that was quick.
Hit the streets.
Yeah.
Jesus, this quarantine is making everybody just kick into their survival instincts.
Kick rocks, Pez.
We got another surprise. Aaron's here.
Oh,
Hey,
How's it going? Hi, Aaron.
good,
Hey.
good.
You look like Mickey's man.
Hey, Aaron, how do you pronounce your last name?
I say Perzanowski.
Hey, there he is.
Everybody look away. Me and Aaron are gonna make out.
Woo.
You're gonna have to take off those architectural glasses. You're gonna have to get through the fucking panes of plexiglass. Aaron, how you holding up, buddy?
You know, teaching second grade's pretty awesome.
Oof.
Cool.
Dude, I heard second grade law is super tough.
You know,
2GL.
I'm not allowed to like think more than like 12 minutes into the future. It turns out they don't like work on a project for 2 hours at a time.
What kind of projects you got them going on? Finger paint, shapes.
It's not preschool. She read a biography of Amelia Earhart this week. Wrote a report about it.
Really?
Her favorite facts about Amelia Earhart were that she wore a suit to her wedding and didn't take her husband's name.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Hi.
Yeah, so I felt good about that.
Yeah, but she also died.
The other
So
way.
what does she know, right?
Hello, you need to come over here.
I can't see Will's head.
Yes.
Look at the different screen.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, there he goes.
Nico looks like he's been waiting since last night for this video.
I saw him at the bar this morning in an N95. That was tight.
Oh, no way. But was he also still wearing his robe?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't wearing the mask on his face.
Yeah. He was wearing
Jesus.
like a doctor mask.
I see Will.
More like N69, am I right?
Oh,
Oh my
The
god.
content you were hoping for, CJ? Is this good?
This is great. Yes, this is the exact. It's recording. I've got everything. I'm writing stuff down. So far, I'm gonna need to make sure we get somebody crying. So I need that video. This is great.
Yeah.
People making out already in chat. This is perfect.
Em, is that you?
It's me.
Yo, what up?
What up?
Yeah, there she is.
no.
That's gonna have to stop. I'm sorry. That's me.
I don't know if we're expecting anybody else. This might be everybody.
All right, CJ, is this enough people to make this like an effective thing?
No, this looks great. I'm really excited about this. This is gonna be fun.
Okay, cool.
For those of you that don't know me yet, my name is CJ Gilson. This is kind of my, I've been in the industry for about 20 years now, doing everything from, washing dishes to consulting to most recently I was at Lola working over there. I've only been in Georgia for about 2 months. I'm from Georgia. So when this all happened, I kind of felt I lost my sense of purpose, like going to work every day. So I kind of got inspired to maybe try to give people the opportunity to tell their story. And I've been bugging Heidi a lot ever since I got that vision. And luckily now this is happening. So thank you guys. This is episode 2 of the Cleveland Happy Hour. But thank you guys for showing up. I'm excited to edit this and to share the story of the Spotted Owl and all that. So this is super exciting. So thank you all for being here.
What were you doing at Lola?
I was working my way up to being a server there. Again, I've been, I was managing a really fancy brew pub down in Georgia and moved up here and dropped everything. So I moved up here without a job or anything, but I knew Lola was a very good establishment. So I went to them and again, with my hustle mentality, just bugged them enough to let me be a part of it somehow. So they said I could be a back waiter. So I kind of humbled myself and said, sure, why not? I'll be a back waiter. And then I was only there for maybe a month and then this happened. So
you moved back home. Where in Georgia are you?
no, I'm here. I'm still here in Cleveland.
Oh, you're still up here. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Terrell's here. Everybody say hi to Terrell.
Terrell's here.
Terrell.
What up, man?
Hey,
Hello.
are you at Walmart right now?
It looks like he's in Costco or Walmart.
I'm at Walmart trying to get this disease.
How you doing, man? You keeping your head up?
Oh yeah, I'm out here. Got this mask, but
Everybody's
it's
healthy?
big, so here we are.
You are at Walmart.
I am at Walmart. Oh no, you called it. You hit the nail on the head.
Stay away from people.
Don't talk to anyone. Bring the dogs. Make them keep everyone 6 feet away.
There's nobody in here actually, which is kind of
All right,
weird.
cool.
Go find a skateboard and ride it around in there.
Or a bike, yeah, dude.
Walmart?
Oh man, this is a cool idea though. I dig it. So,
How's your mom and dad? Everybody healthy?
my dad actually contracted the virus, but he is in recovery now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just found out my mom has to get tested right now because she's got all the symptoms too. So.
Oh, geez.
I have 2 friends who can't get tested.
Who can't?
What's up?
I said I have 2 friends who can't get tested. They've been sick for a week, and I told them their fevers are too low.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So my dad.
My mom hasn't gotten tested yet either.
My dad got tested, and then like 2 days later, his fever dropped, and they kicked him out the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, they were like, "You're good. You're gonna be sick, but you'll be fine." And
Yeah.
see you later. Like,
Yeah, we need this bed. Yeah, right.
all right, we need this bag. Get the fuck up. That's what happened.
I'm glad he's all right though. How's Mac?
She's good, man. She's still in Ohio. It happened the day of her spring break was when Michigan shut down, and
Right.
her mom and I just decided it didn't make any sense to keep moving her back and forth. So I really don't know what's going to happen because they just canceled school. They canceled school in Ohio.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
on May
yeah,
1st.
actually-
Like the end of May.
Yeah, they canceled. They completely shut down school in Michigan. Like, there's everybody's graduating, nobody's going back. So I don't really know what the summer looks like for Mackenzie. Like, if it starts now, she's gonna come up here next week and just stay. I really don't know. So kind of playing it by ear, man. It's a weird time for everybody.
Huh? Yeah, I'm glad you're all right. I'm glad that your dad's well enough that they at least booted his ass from the hospital.
Yeah, man, he's cool. He's stubborn old goat. Yeah.
Serge, are you eating cereal?
Yeah, Serge, are you eating coffee? What kind of Brooklyn ass bullshit are you eating over there?
Nico,
I told Heidi I would join later because I'm cooking, and now I have to eat cereal because I have.
Look at this guy just eating Bushwick O's.
Has anybody else noticed the bullshit fireplace Nico's rocking with right now?
Is there some weirdo with the handlebar mustache selling homemade fucking breakfast cereal next to him? Wearing a monocle and shit.
I tried to find one. I couldn't get my hands on it.
Jesus. It's because you had your hands on an N99 on your.
In 69.
Sorry. I'm thinking about inches and not positions.
Em, how are you holding up?
I'm good. It's
Yeah?
fine. Yeah, I'm just bunkered down.
I've been seeing a lot of violin and a lot of juggling.
I got tricks.
Yeah, like fucking Star Search over there.
All right. Will, what do you say? You ready to
let's
knock out this cocktail?
Yeah.
That's the road, pal.
All right.
How do I look? Do I look okay? Do I look like a cool guy?
Yeah, your hair looks great.
You.
Definitely the coolest guy in that room.
Thank you, CJ. For such an august occasion as this, I figured that we would talk about a superior at-home drink, one that is as iconic as it is simple, but one that is modified for somebody who doesn't have to make 100 of these a night like we do, right? So when we make our old fashions at the bar, we make a Demerara syrup, we use our own bitters blend, and we make a million of them, and they're very, very delicious. And they are absolutely the second best old fashioned that I've ever had in my life. The first best old fashioned I've ever had in my life was actually created by our good friend Ryan Irvin, super nerd, who has spent the past 2 years of his life figuring out how to make beautiful sourdough bread, and therefore is like particularly prepared for the end times that we all live in now. Now he gets to look like a god of the apocalypse because everybody's coming to him for sourdough bread advice. So he, upon interacting with me and having actually a great deal to do with our development of our daiquiri recipe, and in particular inspired by our use of raw sugar rather than using a syrup in our daiquiri, he came up with his ideal at-home old-fashioned recipe, which I happen to agree with. It's honestly the best old-fashioned I've ever had in my life when he made it for me at his place. So I am going to, with his permission, share how to make that for everybody. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with 2 good spoonfuls of Demerara sugar. So Demerara sugar, if you want to go buy it at the store, you're going to find it under the brand Sugar in the Raw. You can think of Demerara sugar as a crystallized sugar that's halfway between brown sugar and white sugar. I, for this recipe, like to use 2 bar spoons of it, or if you, for whatever reason, don't have a bar spoon at home, just 2 teaspoons will work just fine. So
cool.
That's 2 teaspoons of Demerara sugar or Sugar in the Raw. We're going to do 2 dashes of regular Angostura bitters. We're going to do 1 dash of Angostura orange bitters, both of which are pretty easy to find, and you can get online if you don't have any in your sidebar currently. I, for this occasion, and for most old fashions myself personally at home, I really like Maker's Mark. Not only does it sit at that 90 proof mark that Ryan recommends, but it's also made with wheat. It's a wheated bourbon, so it adds a like an added layer of sweetness. 2.5 ounces of 90 proof bourbon of your choice. And then what Ryan does, and this is where this recipe gets very appropriately fussy, is that Ryan in particular calls for 40 stirs before ice hits the mixing glass, and then 40 stirs after. So we're gonna go ahead and go. So we're gonna start the process of getting that sugar dissolved, and then we're gonna add some ice. Obviously, in true Spotted Owl fashion, we're gonna get as much ice as we can possibly get in there so that we can control that environment. And then it's 40 more stirs. Now, the thing about stirring this drink with raw sugar in it is it's gonna feel a lot kind of like tougher and grittier and more difficult to stir. But just so for those of us who are professional bartenders and are used to like stirring a million drinks in a given night, it's gonna feel very strange. But stick with it because I promise it's worth the effort. And that's 40. So you stir it down just like that. And then the difference between his beautiful at-home old-fashioned and most other old-fashions is that rather than just taking a regular julep strainer like this and straining it right out, we're gonna double strain it in the same way we would a shaken cocktail, because you're gonna strain out all that excess sugar that for whatever reason didn't get dissolved. So we're gonna pour that right over. And this is gonna qualify as like a beautiful, perfect Hollingsworth Old Fashioned because it's gonna start out pretty sweet. Like you saw when I stirred it, that it really kind of moves all the way through that. There's no like dribbles or drabbles at the end, and that's because it's like still got a tremendous amount of viscosity. I always like to have an Old Fashioned that's airing almost on too sweet at the beginning, but is perfect at the end. That's something that like we really dedicate ourselves to at the Owl. And I really like this Old Fashioned for a lot of reasons, but one of them is because it really adheres to some of the values that we have about Old Fashions here at the Owl. So we finish the drink just like we do ours during service. We take a little $50 size peel of lemon. We squeeze that over the top, and then we'll rub it along the bottom of the glass for aromatics. And then we'll do the same with a little $50 size piece of orange. That goes over the top, and that way you can kind of layer even the aromatics. Obviously, lemon has a much sharper aroma than orange, and so when you do the lemon first and then you layer the orange oil on top, you get a really, really complex set of aromatics. We rub that along the bottom of the glass so that those lemon oils and those orange oils get stuck to your fingers and really add to the aromatic experience of the drink. And then we drink it. That's it. Cheers. Still to this day, the best textured and like most elegantly layered Old Fashioned I've ever had in my life. I think this drink is incredible, and you can depend on a non-bartender nerd to perfect a drink that bartenders bragged about for 150 years.
No, that was crazy informative. A few tricks that I've never seen before is stuff like rubbing the peel on the bottom of the glass for the aromatics. Like I've seen it on the rim of the glass, but never at the bottom of the glass. That makes so much sense, and that's super smart.
When you come sit at the Spotted Owl and you get cocktails, you're always going to see us after we express citrus oils over the top of a drink. You're always going to see us put it on the bottom of the glass, because if you put it on the rim of the glass, you're introducing very, very bitter citrus oils to people's lips, which is going to affect the way the drink tastes. What you want from citrus oils has nothing to do with taste. It has everything to do with aromatics. So if you apply it to the bottom of the glass where people are holding the glass, then those lemon oils and those orange oils are going to get on their fingers. And then every time, and obviously we all know how that works with perfume and cologne, right? Like the heat and oil off of your own skin will express those aromatics longer than anything else will. So you'll be able to enjoy the aromatics of those drinks long after the citrus oils sitting on top of the drinks have dissipated.
The Old Fashioned obviously has been modified and replicated endless amounts of times, right? Now they're even doing stuff like, they're adding not just, bourbon or whiskey, but they're adding rums.
Right. I personally am wild about a rum old fashioned, particularly like a funky Jamaican rum old fashioned. What's cool about using different kinds of rum to make rum old fashions is that it gives you a lot more freedom with what kind of sugar to use. Because the rum is going to contribute a lot of those molasses notes that you want in a million different expressions, some bitter, some floral, some just like overtly candied sweet. That gives you a lot of room to maneuver when it comes to your sweetener because you know you're going to get those molasses notes from the rum itself.
I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about your story and how you kind of got to what the Spotted Owl is now.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too, and I hope that we can open it up to everybody else on the team so that they can contribute to the story with their part of it. Because I think everybody on the call right now has had a chapter in that story. I think has written a chapter in that story. It's really cool to have somebody who is relatively new to the team, like M or like Lennon, somebody who was here from the very beginning, like Terrell, and very near after the very beginning, like Sully, and then somebody who was here right for our most transformative years, like Serge. Like, I feel like everybody on this call right now has like a very unique and cool perspective on the history of this bar. So Sullivan, who is our COO, Director of Operations, and Sinjin, who is in the captain's hat and is our Akron General Manager. The two of them and myself all worked together at the late Lolita in Tremont. We were honestly the only two bartenders there for 3.5 years. It was something that Sinjin, unfortunately, for years had to like suffer listening to my dreams about. You know, you bartend for long enough and you start to get your own ideas about the way you think a place should be run and what a bar means and the way a bar should look and how it should feel. And so for pretty much the entire time that Sinjin and I worked together at Lolita, I was working on the business plan or raising the money, or he and I were designing the place. Sinjin has a interior design background. And so as soon as I could, and as soon as it became clear that this was like a real thing that was going to happen, he and I built this place together with our hands. He came on as our contractor, and we built this place. That all happened between the years of January 2011 and October 2014. And then we opened 5 years ago in October 2014. And then 5 years later, on October 21st, 2019, we opened our shop in Akron. So Sinjin then moved into kind of a task force operations role as our general manager in the new shop in Akron. And then Emily, who is here on the call, is our assistant manager down there, sort of our bar manager, beverage lead. So that's kind of the broad strokes of the history of this company.
There's Quick. Look, this dude.
That's my boy.
Oh, handsome man.
That's my boy. Can Will or Terrell, can you guys tell CJ about Quick and how we found Quick?
Oh yeah, right. Well, you can tell that story.
All right. Man. So a young lady that we used to work with named Annalise, she called me one day and was talking or asked me that I have an extra leash because she found a dog at the Professor Market. Dog was tied up to like a pole or something like that. Called Will and I. He ended up coming down to my house, and then we kept him at the bar for a while.
He was a bar dog for like a week.
I was at the Owl for 3 years, and that happened. We opened up October. I found him in January, and he's been rocking ever since.
Serge, can you tell CJ your owl history, your story of the owl?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. I was working at another bar on the east side of Cleveland for a while. Like twice a week for about a month straight, I came there asking for a job. You know, I bothered them until eventually they caved and cracked under pressure, and they gave me a job there. Started off as a bar back and then / bartender, kind of worked my way up the ranks a little bit.
We were all making it up as we went along at that
Yeah,
point.
exactly. We were all winging it. It was
Not
pretty
at all
good.
like now. Now
Yeah.
everything is all.
No. Everything is structured to hell.
Everything's different now. Yeah. Serge, where are you now?
Right now, I live in New York, and I work at the Mora Margo in Williamsburg and Bar Goto in Brooklyn.
Yeah. How's it going at Bargoto?
Great, man. It's dope. Kenta's a fucking ninja, dude. It's crazy.
You're working for two of the best guys in the world.
I know. It's pretty crazy.
Incredible, man. We're so proud of you.
The owl, it definitely formed me into who I needed to be to get to this point. You know, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them.
Yeah, you got to understand though that you had the equivalent and equal impression on the owl too, right? Like that's what's cool about this place. At least I hope, and what I try to make cool about this place, and what we work towards is, you know, we try to have a positive influence on you, but like you have an equally positive influence on us. Like the bar is different for having known you, just like you're different for having known the bar, right? That's what we try to keep in mind.
Yeah, it's a nice ebb and flow. It's a nice exchange of energies.
If we could have you be less successful but still here, we would take it in a heartbeat.
You know, like I gotta say, what I'm really seeing here, which I find beautiful and really a sign of, you know, well owned and, you know, well managed, is you're putting the success of the staff above the success of your business almost. You'd much rather lose somebody like Daddy's Home to New York, you know, than to have him stay and kind of feel like held back. So I think it's great.
I know for a fact that I brought Serge up in this, and I kept saying this to him, but like when it comes to the Spotted Owl staff, we're more of a farm than we are anything else. And I hope that
Definitely. I definitely like saw the owl as like, I would probably say it's like the world's most successful incubator. All those lessons, like they transferred laterally to like so many different aspects of my life that like I didn't know that even I could even achieve, you know, like the discipline, you know, the critical thinking, just the spatial awareness, just all of that stuff. Like it really, it resonates to people who want that, you know, and like that's what I was craving when I went there.
I think what's cool and really important about the owl is just how much everybody who works here is allowed to put their own imprint on it. So that way, the people who come in, it really is like Cheers. It's like really, really, really dedicated and spot on, laser focused Cheers. That feeling, you know, it's the dog stories. It's the having the connections with people who aren't even in the state anymore. You know, like it's a place. I've never worked at a place that I can't get away from.
I want to touch on something that Terrell said earlier about like leaving an imprint on the bar, or like, you know, like leaving your imprint there since you work there. It essentially, like, you know, what's really cool about that space is that it essentially like allows you to create a canvas in order to like connect with your guests. This is a drink that I made with like the help of everybody around me, and like I'm giving this to you. And like one of the best responses that I could ever get that the owl like taught me how to do was when somebody says like, this is exactly what I wanted.
In the words of Will, plant your feet, look him in the eyes, and have a conversation.
I remember being really big on giving people like their props. Like when somebody would come in and order, you know, they order a cocktail, they order a pina colada. I'm like, yo, my girl Sally made that. We had a quote, or there's a Japanese proverb, I'm gonna paraphrase. It's a Japanese proverb that says, the most selfless thing you can do is build something beautiful, knowing that the intent is for it to get destroyed.
So there's this rabbi named Rabbi Abraham Twersky who talks about this concept of like what love actually is, you know, and essentially boiling it down, he talked about like when you love somebody, you love them because a piece of you is inside of them, you know, and what the cocktails are doing is that you're putting yourself into them and like creating like this environment of love and like compassion for that other person who's in front of you, enjoying this thing that you're drinking.
I got the opportunity to come into the Spotted Owl when I was up here visiting right around Thanksgiving of last year. I walked in there expecting pretentiousness. because that's what you a lot of times get from most cocktail bars. Like when we walked in, I'm seeing behind the bar, they're wearing T-shirts and they're yelling "Hello, welcome" from like behind the bar. And seeing you guys work, you guys have every right to be pretentious. To have you guys be as talented as you are and to not have that, it's amazing to see.
You can come in and get a really decked out cocktail, or you can get a shot in the beer. We're gonna treat you the same way.
Has that been something that's always kind of been the goal, like Will, like from the get-go, is to have that sort of welcoming, unpretentious sort of culture, or is that something just developed from hiring great people like Terrell and Serge and all the other bartenders that are here?
Can I say something about that real quick?
Yeah.
We adopt that mentality of like we're never like finished learning, you know what I mean? So like we have this like innate like ability about us, and like the people around us will keep us humble while we're there.
Yeah, and that's the thing, CJ. I think to answer your question, what motivated me to build the Owl was that I wanted to build a Cleveland cocktail bar. I didn't want to build a New York cocktail bar in Cleveland. I didn't want to build a Portland, Oregon cocktail bar in Cleveland. I wanted to really take that kind of scrappy, blue collar,
yeah, absolutely,
kind of attitude, yeah, and I wanted to apply it to cocktails. And so when you start there, right, then the next place you arrive is, first of all, it's got to be just as fun to get a beer and a shot in this place as it is to get a fancy cocktail. And secondly, there can be zero bullshit, because when I opened the Owl, I opened it having decided to stay in Cleveland, which is a place I wasn't from, that I had no connection to, but that I had arrived here and really fallen in love with it and fallen in love with the culture of it. And one of the things that I really loved about this place was that the bullshit meter here is so dialed in. It's so finely tuned that like any notion of like, no, we're gonna overstuff these couches and we're gonna put up some velvet drapes, and then people are gonna think our cocktails are good because I spent $1 million building this place out. I said, no. That's like Cleveland's gonna see through that in a second.
Oh yeah.
So our whole thing was that, we're going to go into this ancient 150-year-old space. We're going to build it out the way we think it should be built out. It's going to be pretty austere, but the service is going to be genuine, and it's going to be real, and the drinks are going to be really, really good, and the really excellent blue-collar service and the really excellent cocktails are going to speak for themselves, because that's what Cleveland is, and that's what Detroit is, and that's what Pittsburgh is, and that's what this whole part of the country is. Like, their bullshit meter is so dialed in that, like, what if we built a bar where the bartenders dressed like bartenders? They weren't wearing bow ties and vests. We don't need costumes. We don't need gestalt. We don't need nonsense. We have a good product that we believe in. We believe in ourselves. We believe in in each other, and we believe in our product. And we're going to let that speak for itself. And it's wild because if you were to write that down, knowing what we all know about, economics, like that never works. But somehow it's worked for us, and it's continued to work.
Even though I work for the bar, I still want to spend all my free time there, it seems. And I think that really says something about the bar. And also just like the staff has totally changed over, and I am close with everybody who comes through. So yeah, I don't know, it's a little rambly, but that's my take on the Spotted Owl.
There's a very particular feel in the Tremont location, right? And you might think that has a lot to do with like the physical space itself, with the interior design, with the fact that it's in this historical building. But then you open up this new bar in Akron that's in a totally different space, with a totally different sort of physical feel. And of course, yeah, you're serving the same product, but like the atmosphere, the interaction between the staff and your customers is so consistent that it like translates between two different cities in two totally different environments. And I think that says a lot about the kind of intangible aspects of what you created. And going back to something Serge said earlier, part of it is just like it's Serge and we love Serge and we've got, you know, a great relationship with him. But, you know, we walked into his bar in New York and like immediately, you know, he comes around from the back of the bar, gives me a hug, and like it felt like a little pocket of Tremont had been transplanted into this other environment. Right? that's about who he is as a person, but it's also about like the environment in which he learned to do this job. And, you know, like he talked about it being this sort of incubator. And I think that's really true, right? Like you're sending people out in the world who have this sort of ethos about how they treat people and interact with them. And it felt really special, you know?
Can I hear now from Lennon and Emily about Akron?
I think we had this really unique experience of obviously hopping on the train after everything that we've just heard about has been existing for 5 years. And for me personally, I didn't know about that. I had showed up to this like 12-person group interview and I was like, it doesn't matter. I don't really care, whatever. And then I showed up and I was like, oh shit, these people are cool and this is cool. And like, I actually really care. I really want to be here and do this. So,
she was
I don't know, it was just such a great opportunity to be able to jump on the fucking bandwagon and like meet Sinjin and Sully and Will and this whole team of people and see like in this small amount of time that we've just like grown this beautiful team. It's obviously a different experience because it's been 5 months instead of 5 years. And now we're sitting in this weird juxtaposed like, when are we going to open again? And it's kind of, you know, like what's going to happen? But I have so much faith and appreciation in what we have to offer and the fact that like, this is something that Akron's been asking for. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to just be able to be a part of it and to be able to bring it to my hometown, you know, like, it's great. It's been good.
We're so thankful to have you, man. We love you so much. It's difficult to describe how thankful all three of us were from the very beginning, from the very first conversation we had.
100%.
Yeah, to have you on this team. We knew that we had lucked out the moment we met you. We were like, oh, listen, if we can convince this woman.
I've known most of you for a very long time. I've known Emily for a very short amount of time, and for somehow the universe has made so many connections between the two of us.
I immediately knew that I wanted to work for them after the group interview, and hearing Will talk and getting to know Sinjin and Sully, and then Emily was great. And so I worked at Akron One for 2-3 months, and then staffing changed in Cleveland, and they were like, how would you like to go work at the Busier bar and not have to take a bus 3 times a week? I was like, I would like that very much.
Very obvious that the Spotted Owl isn't a Spotted Owl without everybody that's here inside this meeting. So my question to you is, like, when you're going through and you are hiring these people, like, what are you looking at based on, like, personality-wise versus, like, just talent?
I think that I want a bartender with a capital B, right? Like, I want a platonic form ideal bartender. And a platonic form ideal bartender is somebody who a stranger walks into their shop and sits down at the bar. They can look at them from across the bar and they don't know them from Adam, but they give a shit about them. They care about them. That's it. I think what I like about everybody who ended up on this call is that in one way or another, they can all speak to that as a value of this company. Ultimately, this business is about meeting a stranger and making them a friend. That's it. That's the whole thing. And I think that value and that idea permeates every aspect of this company. People come in as customers and they leave as friends. People come in as job applicants and they leave as friends. People come in as job applicants and they leave as social media managers. People come in as customers and they end up as marketing managers. These things they all come from the same place, which is that as a company, as a culture, as a family, what we care about is looking at people and meeting strangers and caring about them the first time we meet them. That's it. That's the whole thing.
They're all inspiring. This has been amazing to kind of be a part of and see this. I knew that I wanted to interview Will, and I didn't realize I got to interview the whole team, so this is even more exciting for me. You guys are just good humans, and that's a great way to start, to have a really successful bar. That's the name of the game.
Don't be a
dick. That's it.
TJ, thank you so much for this, man.
You guys have been amazing. This is so much more than I would have thought it'd be. I'm gonna have a very difficult time editing this down now.
Lord knows you've got plenty of material to work with.
Oh yeah, I got 2.5 hours worth of footage here that I'm gonna get to watch all over again and clip it down. You guys have been amazing, so thank you. I'm looking forward to when this is all over, stopping by and having a cocktail soon. Thank you all so much for watching this full long video. I know it's longer than normal, but I felt that this is the only way I knew to do it justice. So thank you for watching, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day. Please check out the other 3 topical videos. You'll see one called Hospitality, you'll see one called Collaboration, and you're also going to see one called Will's Story. So make sure you check those out too. Those are just much shorter, 5 to 10 minute videos talking about very specific topics through here. So thank you again. Have a great day.